Do you even speak English properly? They chuckled across the table. The old man sat still, his foreign accent thick, but his posture sharper than most. They didn't ask about his experience, just snickered, whispered, and dismissed. But 5 minutes later, the conference door opened. The CEO stepped in, saw his face, and stood up straighter than anyone had ever seen, then saluted. If this hit you, fast comment, respect has no accent. Victor Tanasi arrived 15 minutes early, a habit formed over decades of military precision. The security firm's glass and steel headquarters towered above him, reflecting morning sunlight as he straightened his collar one final time. At 68, Victor didn't need this job financially. His military pension covered his modest needs. But the empty hours in his small apartment had grown heavier with each passing month. The silence that once offered peace now only echoed with memories. He hadn't come to beg for work. He'd come to serve again in his own quiet way. Born in Romania, Victor had immigrated legally to America 30 years ago, earning his citizenship through service. For 25 years, he'd operated in shadows alongside U.S. Special Forces missions, so classified, most files remained redacted even decades later. His neighbors knew him only as the polite old man who cleared snow from everyone's walkways before they woke. They had no idea those same hands had once defused bombs under enemy fire, or carried wounded soldiers through mountain passes that didn't exist on maps. When the security firm posted an opening for front desk night watch, Victor saw an opportunity, not glory, just purpose. That morning, he sat patiently in the sleek corporate lobby, wearing a pressed white button-down, dark slacks, and black boots polished to a military shine. His weathered hands rested calmly on his knees. Mert Tanas, the HR representative, mangled his name. Conference room 4. 3 young men in tailored suits waited inside. Their faces showed momentary surprise as Victor entered, clearly not the candidate they'd expected. Please sit. One gestured casually, not rising to greet him. As Victor introduced himself, his accent emerged, thick, deliberate Eastern European consonants, reshaping American words. Do you have? The first interviewer paused dramatically. Any previous work history in security? Yes. Victor nodded respectfully. Military, NATO Cooperative Command, classified joint operations. Another interviewer snickered, whispering to his colleague, "We got Rambo's grandpa in the room." The lead interviewer leaned forward, speaking deliberately slower. "We mean recent work history, not Cold War stuff." The room chuckled. "Sir, our systems are quite advanced. Do you know how to operate modern technology? The menus are all in English." Victor gave a small, dignified smile. "If I may, language changes, but vigilance does not." They didn't write anything down, just exchanged knowing glances. "We'll be in touch," they said dismissively, already reaching for the next resume. Victor stood, nodded respectfully, and walked toward the door without argument or complaint. But as he left, something fell from his pocket. A small, weighty metal disc rolled silently beneath the chair. His old challenge coin accidentally dropped, but not forgotten. The conference room door closed with a soft click behind Victor. "That was something," the HR representative chuckled, loosening his tie slightly. "Did you catch that accent?" The youngest interviewer mimicked poorly, classified joint operations. "What is this, a movie from the 80s? The head interviewer leaned back, scrolling through his phone. "Yeah, that accent alone would scare clients away." "Front desk material? I don't think so." The third man reached under the chair where Victor had sat, retrieving the fallen coin. He flipped it carelessly between his fingers. "Nice trinket. Probably got it at some army surplus store." He tossed it onto the table where it spun before settling. "These old foreign guys love their war stories." "Eastern European, right?" another added, not bothering to remember Victor's actual nationality. "They all claim to be ex-special forces or KGB or whatever." "Should we even bother putting him in the system?" The HR rep glanced at his tablet. "I mean, we have 15 more candidates today." The lead interviewer shrugged. "Policy says we document everyone. Just mark communication skills poor and not a cultural fit. That should do it." They placed the coin on a stack of papers as an impromptu paperweight and prepared for the next interview. 10 minutes later, their schedule showed a mid-level security supervisor position, but the door opened early and without a knock. In stepped a tall woman in her 50s, sharp navy uniform blazer over business attire, silver hair cropped precisely at her collar. 3 stars adorned her lapel. The room scrambled to attention. "Good morning, Miss Harrington," one said, standing awkwardly. Catherine Harrington, CEO and founder of Sentinel Security Solutions, didn't respond. Her eyes had locked onto the coin sitting atop their papers. She crossed the room deliberately and picked it up, turning it slowly in her hand. The room watched as her expression transformed completely. "Who," she asked with measured words, "was the man that left this?" The HR representative shifted uncomfortably. "Just an applicant, foreign guy, bit odd, had some big stories about this coin." She cut him off. "Do you know what this is?" No," she placed it carefully on the table. "It's a Level 4 Joint Operations Commander's coin, issued only after multi-nation classified battlefield coordination. There are fewer than 50 in existence worldwide." Her voice grew quiet. "I have one, and I received mine from him." The room fell silent. "His name is Commander Victor Tenesi, Romanian Special Forces NATO Joint Command. He saved my entire unit during Operation Dust Veil in '93. Her eyes narrowed. "I've been searching for him for years." She stood at attention, a reflexive military posture that made the 3 interviewers suddenly feel very small. "Find him. Now." They laughed. But legacy doesn't wear suits or speak perfect English. It wears quiet history. If this shook you, type "never forget service" in the comments. The corporate lobby bustled with afternoon activity, but Victor sat alone at a small cafe table. He hadn't ordered anything, just waited patiently, hands folded, watching people rush by. A lifetime of observation had taught him to find peace in invisibility. He checked his watch once. The interview had gone as expected, no surprises there. A commotion near the elevator bank drew his attention. The security guards stood suddenly straighter, and a path cleared through the crowd as Catherine Harrington moved purposefully across the marble floor. Victor recognized her immediately, though decades had passed, some faces remain etched in memory. She spotted him and paused, the recognition mutual and electric across the distance. For a moment, time collapsed between them. She approached his table with a straight-back confidence that had once carried her through firefights. "Sir," she began, her voice softer than her staff had ever heard it. "Do you remember a young communications officer who dropped the SATCOM unit under fire in '93 Southeast Perimeter?" Victor's weathered face creased with the faintest smile. "Reinforced in 3 minutes. That was you." Still sharp, she laughed softly. Then, to the astonishment of everyone watching, she knelt briefly before him, a gesture of profound respect, then rose and offered a perfect military salute. The lobby fell silent. Victor returned the salute with precision that belied his age. "You didn't mention your name during the interview, sir," she said. "You didn't need to." "That service was then," he replied calmly. "I just want to be useful now." Catherine gestured, and an aide brought forward the 3 men from the interview room. They stood uncomfortably, eyes downcast. "Gentlemen," she addressed them with steel in her voice, "today you interviewed a man whose service record is still partially classified. You mocked his accent, dismissed his history, and judged his worth by how he sounds, rather than what he's done." Her gaze hardened. "Congratulations, you've just failed your interview." The men were dismissed with a gesture. As they departed, Catherine turned back to Victor. "How many hours would you like to work, Commander? This building is yours now." Victor shook his head gently. "Night shift is fine. Quiet is better for thinking." That evening, the entire company received an internal memo with an image of the coin and a simple statement: "Honor doesn't ask for a job. It offers protection silently." Victor began his duties that night. He didn't request special treatment or accommodation. He simply performed his job with the same quiet excellence that had defined his military career. Each evening at sunset, he stood at attention when the flag was lowered outside the building, a ritual that soon became familiar to staff working late. Younger security personnel began stopping by his desk, curious about the coin now displayed in a small case beside his station. "How do you get one of those?" a young guard asked one night. Victor smiled slightly, his eyes distant with memories. "Earn it," he said simply. 3 months passed. Victor's accent remained, but the reactions to it had transformed completely. One morning after his shift, he found one of the interviewers waiting in the lobby, the youngest one who had laughed the loudest during their meeting. "Sir," the young man began awkwardly, "I came to apologize." Not for my job, I deserve to lose that, but because I needed to learn this lesson. He shifted uncomfortably. I was judging men by voice, not value. Victor simply nodded his forgiveness, wordless but complete. The encounter sparked something unexpected. The company instituted a new tradition. Each security recruit received a replica coin during orientation, along with a card bearing Victor's quiet wisdom. You don't need to sound like others to serve like no other. On his 70th birthday, his final day before a second retirement, the company gathered. No grand speeches, just silent respect as Victor handed his commander's coin back to Catherine. I don't need this to be remembered, he said, his accent still thick but now familiar, respected. She closed his fingers back around it gently. No, Commander, she replied. We do. Victor smiled, truly smiled for the first time in years. Respect isn't fluent in any language. It's fluent in the sacrifice. Subscribe to Wounds and Honor if you believe dignity speaks loudest in silence.